pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Let the record show that all members of the City Council are present this evening. There is a copy of the Open Meetings Act posted in the meeting room on the west wall and is accessible to the public at any time during the course of this meeting. First item on the agenda is a proclamation. The proclamation has to do with Arbor Day, and the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Stan Worth, Mayor of the City of Beatrice, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2018, as Arbor Day in the City of Beatrice, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And furthermore, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Witness my hand and seal of the City of Beatrice, Nebraska, the 16th day of April 2018. And the Director of Keep Nebraska Beatrice Beautiful, Linda Grell, is here to accept the presentation.
Where'd you go, Abby?
You didn't want to get in the picture that bad?
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Did you get one?
I'm actually filling in for Mark Petha tonight, so I want to thank you for this proclamation. I'd just like to say I'm going into the third grade classrooms and doing a presentation here in Beatrice for about 150 students. And then I just want to say we're really proud that we were able to get $20,000 worth of grants last year to plant about 250 trees in the city parks. So over the last about 5 years, we've probably planted about 400 trees. So I hope we can get some more grants to do that some more. So thank you.
Thank you, Linda. All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests. First item on the agenda is item A, approve agenda as submitted. Item B, receive and place on file all notices pertaining to this meeting. Item C, receive and place all file all materials having any bearing on this meeting. Item D, approval of minutes of regular meeting on April 2nd, 2018, as on file in the City Clerk's office. Item E, approval of Treasurer's Report of Claims. E1, approval of Gauge Area Growth N-Gauge claim in the amount of $33,463.49. E2, approval of balance of Treasurer's Report of Claims in the amount of $396,709.89. Item F, approval of Boswell Report of Claims in the amount of $57,939.57. Item G, approval of write-off of ambulance bad debts. Item H, approval of pay request number 3 in the amount of $80,293.50 to Philip Karkowski Construction for the WPC bar screen replacement as recommended by the Board of Public Works. Item I, award of bid for the Porter Addition Sanitary Sewer Improvements 2017 to General Excavating in the amount of $92,770.80 and approval of change order number 1, adjusting the completion date to August 31st, 2018, as recommended by the Board of Public Works. Item J, approval of public funding request from the Beatrice Area Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $5,000 for Homestead Days 2018 event. Item K, approval of public funding request from the Beatrice Noon Kiwanis Club in the amount of $1,850.78 for the annual Mudecas basketball tournament event. Item L, approval of Beatrice Plus funding request from the City of Beatrice Public Properties Department in the amount of $10,000 per year for 2 years to create a splash pad or spray pool at Astro Park, as recommended by the Beatrice Plus Advisory Board. Item N, resolution number 6206, regulating parking along West Mary Street between Penrod Street to Cedar Street and on Cedar Street between West Mary Street and Scott Street. Mr. Catlin? Beg your pardon. Does anybody want anything removed from the consent agenda, Phil?
L.
Item L. Bob?
I'll abstain from the Engage one, which is I think 3E1.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone from the public? Mr. Catlin?
Mayor, I would move that all the items listed on the consent agenda, with the exception of item L, be approved, accepted, and ratified as presented.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Morgan, that all items under the consent agenda be approved. Your vote, please. And that is approved 8-0.
Mayor, I would move for the item L, the approval of the Beatrice Plus funding request from the City of Beatrice Public Properties Department in the amount of $10,000 per year for 2 years to create a splash pad or spray pool at Astro Park, as recommended by the Beatrice Plus Advisory Board, be accepted, approved, or ratified as presented.
Second.
By Catlin, seconded by Cook, that we further discuss the Beatrice Plus funding request. Philip?
I pulled that off just for the reason we're going to build it this fall. How do we pay for it? If it's $20,000 and it's 10 years, 10,000 one year and 10,000 the next, are we going to float them the extra 10,000 to get this built, or is it going to take two-year period to?
The City of Beatrice is the one building this facility, and so we've got it budgeted in our budget this year to pay for such a facility. So the City of Beatrice will use the money out of our general fund to buy all the equipment and install and get this park up and operational. And then this, along with other grants that we have acquired, will be used to pay back the City of Beatrice for a portion of this facility.
Okay. I just didn't want it to take 2 years to build it, if that's what we're.
No, we're hoping to have it done by late summer, early fall.
Any other questions? Anyone from the public? All right, gentlemen, your vote, please. And that is approved 8-0. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing to receive the semi-annual report of the Citizens Advisory Review Committee as provided by the Local Option Municipal Economic Development Act, RRS 1943. And with us for that hearing is Rat Jones, the chairman. Mr. Jones?
Good evening. Thank you. Our report tonight is very short. We have had little to no activity in quite some time here, so we don't have any new applications. On the balance sheet, as I'm sure you have, just briefly, the CDBG budget shows a little over $188,000. But as we all know, there's a majority, if not all, that's already been earmarked for other projects. On the LV 840 funds, you'll see a similar pattern there where it shows you a little over $440,000. But again, another chunk of that has been earmarked. And we recently had additions of the Porter Houses and Midwest Housing to that balance sheet.
Questions? Anyone? You're right, it's short and sweet. Thank you, Grant.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I would move that the public hearing be closed at 7:09 p.m.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Billsbach, that the public hearing be closed at 7:09 p.m. Your vote, please. And that is approved 8-0. Next item is resolution number 6207, executing the letter of agreement amendment number 1 to add additional services including pilot testing, design services, and pre-selection of equipment for additional compensation to the letter agreement for professional services between the City of Beatrice, Nebraska, and Olson and Associates, Inc., as recommended by the Board of Public Works.
Mayor, I would move that resolution number 6207 be passed and approved. Adopted.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Billsbach, that resolution number 6207 be passed and adopted. Tobias?
So at the wastewater treatment facility, as you guys know, we knew that we had to make some upgrades to that facility. We didn't know exactly how soon or what the extent would be. We originally thought that we might be looking at an entire new plant with the update of our new permit that we got from DEQ. When they came out with the latest set of limits, we were under the understanding we don't need to completely update the plant today, but probably to the next permit cycle we'll have to, which you got about 5 additional years. So we've been working on making other improvements to the plant to make it run more efficient. That will also work with the new plant once that comes online here in the future. So if you remember, you did the pumps a couple years ago, you just installed the bar screen. The next thing to look at is the sludge process at the end. Today, use a bar screen. The bar screen we bought used many years ago. We were having difficulty finding parts. It's not real efficient. And so we want to study how to replace that part going forward and what we can do to make that process more efficient. So what you have before you is an agreement with Olson Associates to come down and start doing the preliminary engineering work for that next phase. What we're looking at doing is doing a pilot study during probably the month of May. We'll bring in the new type of equipment we want to use, hook it up, run it through our plant to make sure it works and see how it exactly handles everything at our facility before we make a determination if that's the way we want to move forward, ultimately issuing an RFP or an RFQ and acquiring product that way. But this is just kind of that first step in doing those preliminary studies.
Questions, anyone?
I'm good.
Bob, you okay?
Yep.
All right. Anybody from the public? All right, your vote, please. That is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6208 has been passed and adopted. We have no ordinances this evening. I beg your pardon. Skipped over a real important one.
Not a good sign. He's going, hey. There's one vote against. Did you get a nudge there, Stan?
Next item is item B, resolution number 6208, appointing Abigail M. Stark as city attorney.
Mayor, it is my pleasure that we move that resolution number 6208 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by everyone, that resolution number 6208 be passed and adopted. Any discussion?
If you looked at the resolution, you'll notice that it states that the effective date's April 30th. The reason being is although you get the pleasure of sitting for the bar exam and you only have to wait about 6 weeks to find out an answer, once you do find out you pass, you have to wait another 2 or 3 weeks before you're actually able to be sworn in and have the official ability to practice law. And so that happens for you the 26th of April, which is a Thursday. And then after that, left Friday, so we figure we just start on Monday with her taking over duties on that day. And she's already got a couple trials scheduled and be ready to start handling work on Monday, April 30th as the official city attorney.
Very good. Looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity. I've had a pretty good chance to get a taste of most of what I'll be dealing with, although a lot of times it feels like something new every day, so I'm sure it'll keep me on my toes. I just hope I'm able to do a good job and meet the expectations.
It's time to get mean, Abby.
I'll remember that, Rich.
Okay, any other comments? Your vote, please. Snuck by again. That's passed 8-0. Resolution number 6208 has been passed and adopted. Congratulations. Now, no ordinances. Next item on the agenda is public forum. Purpose of the public forum is for the presentation of an item by the general public to the city council for consideration at a later date. No discussion or action will be taken by the city council at this time, but we do have a couple of gentlemen, Chief Bruce Lang and Police Officer Jason Sharp, who are joining us. And gentlemen, I'll let you make the presentation.
Bruce Lang, Chief of Police. Have the pleasure to have Officer Jason Sharp here. He just returned from over a year-long deployment And I'll let him tell you a little bit about that deployment, and I think he has a little presentation here for us. So with that, I'll turn it over to him.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, Mr. Templemeyer, and Chief, I greatly appreciate this opportunity. As the Chief said, for the last year I've been deployed. I've been with the city about 2.5 years, and just under half of that I've been deployed. It's always hard on the employer and definitely the family. While I was gone, there's two things I really appreciate about the police department. One is, a good family, and while I was gone, pretty much every officer, I can say that. I would say the new ones who don't know me yet, I'm sure they would do the same thing. But everybody reached out. I think I talked to pretty much everybody while I was gone, and they checked in on myself and my family, and I greatly appreciate that. And then also, the other thing is, really welcoming me home when I got home. I'm definitely looking forward to getting back to work. I got some training tomorrow afternoon, and Wednesday will be the first day I get to put the uniform back on, which I've been looking forward to for a while. But anyways, one thing I did have the opportunity to do is fly a flag, or have a flag flown over the base I was at. I was deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom to Guantanamo Bay. I was the security manager for the Joint Detention Group. So what this is a certificate to the Beatrice Police Department. It was signed by Colonel Gabovics, who's the Joint Detention Group commander, and Command Sergeant Major Bennett, who's the Joint Detention Group Command Sergeant Major. Just wanted to say thanks for all the support, Chief, and for all the officers. And everything that they've done, both to support the family and myself, but also to cover down on my absence, which, it's been, missing one person in a small agency is a lot. So,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So the other thing, which they'll be presented at a later date, was to my first line supervisors, is a certificate from the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve of the Office of Secretary of Defense. For being a patriotic employer, so they'll be presented that at a separate date. But I do appreciate this opportunity to say thanks in public. So,
Very good. Very good, Jason. Thank you for your service.
thank you.
Cigars?
Very nice.
Jason, no cigars?
I would have loved to bring some back, but the base was actually closed. We weren't able to go back and forth from
I know
Cuba.
it.
So, okay, all right.
I think Doug wants to take a picture.
Okay,
Jason.
all right.
I had a friend of mine who's Cuban, from Cuba. They're from New Zealand, and his wife is the emergency manager director for New Zealand.
Very nice.
They were in Cuba last fall.
All right, moving on. Next item is the Engage quarterly report. Walker Zolkowski, the Executive Director of Engage, is with us this evening. Walker, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Congrats, Abby.
Thank you.
I'll make it short and sweet. So Q1 kicked it off going to Korea, which you guys already got to hear about. So that did happen in Q1. It's a nice way to get the year started. Still working on some Korea relationships. One of our partners from the State Department of Economic Development just returned to Korea a couple weeks ago, and met with some folks that we'd already met with, and then some that we didn't get to catch up with while we were there, and then also some names that we kind of formulated from our discussions over there. So looking at probably a return trip either this year or again next year to build on some more of the Korean relationships. Was also in California not too long after getting back from Korea for an Advanced Manufacturing Expo. This was the last event that we had contracted with Site Location Partnership. They're the ones who set up specific consultant events, walk trade shows, and things for us. So wanted to get out there to get out to their last event. Just to show the value from using Site Location Partnership, you can see on the final page there, we got 13 company leads from them walking the show. So those companies have expressed interest in growing somewhere in the Midwest in the next couple of years. So we put those in our database and just subtly, touch base with them, do some research on them, send them our newsletters and all that. So, if they're looking at expanding somewhere, they see all the success we're having. And then also just from their private event, I made 29 new contacts. So moving forward, we're not with Site Location Partnership, but we contracted with them through our LAD group, our Lincoln Area Development Group. So it saves us some money because we're not paying for them directly, but we still get all of the benefit from using the SLP group. So I can still go to all of the events. Also in Q1, sent out 2 official newsletters. We had a bunch of other correspondence going out with our annual meeting, so we try not to blow up too many mailboxes. You can keep seeing all this stuff. We sent a ton of emails. We had a ton of stuff come across our desks. Social media kept going up. Just a little update on the hotel study, but it shows demand. We want to build a hotel, and I set out to set a goal this year is to build a hotel. So hopefully we can get something landed. Our report says we need one. We've had interest, and so we'll keep plugging away on that this year. Q1, I think some of you here might went to the Excel groundbreaking, which was a legit, really cool groundbreaking. We actually got to see a hospital
Really
start
cool.
to be torn
It
down.
was cold.
Yeah, it was cold, but it was all worth it once you get to see an excavator start tearing into a building. And then grow engaged communities. We got through the youth engagement and surveys. So we've surveyed all of the youth all around Gage County, that either if they go to school in Gage County or outside of Gage County, but live in all of our communities. So they've built models, they've responded to surveys. And then now we've been with our first initial meetings. We had 3 initial meetings, Adams, Beatrice, and then our third one is in Wymore here in next week. But we're just reviewing all of the surveys and the info that we got from the youth, and then kind of planning out how do we want to approach building some different facilities, how do we want to narrow down where we put our efforts, and that'll happen over the summer and into the fall. Got appointed to some things in Q1. The Nebraska Economic Developers Association and the Southeast Nebraska Development District asked me to be on their boards of directors. So I agreed to do that. And then also the University of Nebraska has a commission of 150 people that they're looking at kind of resetting the tone of what UNL is going to do in 25 years. And they'd asked me to sit on that too. So busy kind of running around the state, trying to do my part to be a team player. We also applied for an opportunity zone, but we were notified last week that we didn't receive an opportunity zone. So we were working on that, but didn't pan out. And then we had an annual meeting too. It's not on my list here. I was thinking of some other stuff going on in Q1 that was important, but our annual meeting was a really good showing. Barry Kennedy, for the retiring or outgoing president of the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce, came down and gave a keynote presentation, and then Jamie Carl, who works with Barry, gave a legislative update since we didn't get a chance to see that prior to legislative session. And then also at our annual meeting, we did our board member elections, and we had one change at the city position, and Matt Morrissey from Black Hills Energy took that top spot. So replacing Pat Nareth, whose term was up and also will be retiring here from the school. Questions?
Rich?
On page 5 of 7, down here it says, workforce attraction, career fairs, and opportunity fairs. How many of those have you had last year?
Career fairs?
Yeah.
Well, that's what DOL does, and we work with them to make sure we're pushing out when they're doing career fairs. They did one in Cortland. They had one here. Well, I guess that would have been more of a workforce recruitment event, not necessarily a career fair.
Well, I hear a lot from out at the employers around town that our workforce isn't, we don't have enough people for the workforce that we're bringing in, and that, is there any way we could maybe kick that up a little bit to where we could get a couple, 2, 3 more? And these young kids are leaving town. We need to tell them the opportunities that we have here in town. There's a lot of kids that don't go to a 4-year college, and we've got places out here that doesn't require 4 years of college. They need to know about this. I think we need to partner with the school and let them know that there are opportunities here in this town. I'd just like to see some more career fairs and what the opportunities here are with our businesses that we have right now. And see if you guys could maybe get something going there.
I probably don't have like a short answer for that, but I think it's a lot of things wrapped into it. Housing is one thing, making sure that you have houses and places for these people to live. Everyone, I guess, to lead off with, every community in the state's dealing with workforce shortage.
But they have to have a job before they can get a house.
And we have jobs, and some of our employers out here are pretty creative of saying, if she finds me somebody, I'll find them a place to live, or I'll do something to treat them right so that they want to take this job. But we got to have a place for them to live, which we're working on. As far as working with the school, we've looked into this a lot more, and actually we just had a manufacturing group. We have a committee of all the manufacturers in the area, and we meet periodically. We had a meeting here a couple weeks ago, and of course workforce is one of our top issues. More contact, I think, with the schools. We do a lot with our manufacturing group to get students to tour all our manufacturers and job shadow, and I think it's just bringing those guys together more, and that was one of our biggest takeaways was getting more of the students out just into those manufacturers and seeing what's going on, job shadow opportunities.
Just kind of more of an FYI too, Rich. Every October we have a Department of Labor Transitions Fair where the high school comes out to the college, and I don't know, there's probably between 300 and 400 students that come out there, and there's probably, 50 or 60 employers that actually give talks about what they do, how to get there, and those type of things. And that happens every October. Part of it is the fact that right now we're at the lowest point of unemployment in one of the states that are fortunate, I guess, to have that, but it has that reverse effect. So there is a huge transitions fair that happens every October as well.
Yeah, that comes from all over southeast Nebraska, right? Right,
Yep.
Bob?
Yep.
I see the buses.
Yeah.
Ed, did you have something?
Yeah, I did. Walker, back in Objective 4, you talked about you're visiting the industries and I know you had a specific number there. How's that going with visiting the existing industries? You said that it said in there 40. Well, maybe it was further back.
BREs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a change in your office, makeup, and I know that, so I just wonder how that's going, because we do want to grow continually, but, retaining what we have and making sure that they're aware of what we have, paramount importance as well. I just wonder how it was going.
Decent. Aaron and I were actually talking about this today. We have a quick meeting every Monday morning. And so we set some goals for the week. And actually this week we said we need to get some BREs lined up and set a goal for how many we're going to do the next few weeks. But I went back through my list of the ones that we had done BREs for, and all of the companies that are on our contacts list that we should be doing BREs with, I still talk to. And so it's not, I don't know if I could put it in there as an official BRE, but like your Exmarks, your Neapcos, your Radigans, your Cokes, Duonics. I mean, those guys, they come to a lot of our meetings. Everything I get across my desk, I'm pushing it out to them. We're touching base pretty frequently. So then to ask them again, hey, can I have another half an hour of your time to sit down and talk?
Yeah.
I don't want to bug them too much. So what Aaron and I just today was saying that same thing is quick questions all the time, and if there's anything that raises a red flag, then we follow up with it. And we just haven't had any of those red flags lately, other than the workforce thing, and that's really what our manufacturing group's tackling.
Yeah. My only concern with that would be that you move from a steady thing to crisis management. Before somebody contacts you and says, we got a problem, so I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job. I just was curious.
No, I appreciate that. And that was exactly it, is we track the successes, and if there's something that they say we're struggling with this, that triggers something where we get out and start connecting resources and diving into it.
Rick?
Comment and no question. Enjoy your email newsletters every day. Those are good. That's a lot of material in there. And also, what's the Community Venture Network? What is that?
CVN.
Yep.
It's a group that we pay to be involved with. It's part of our Lincoln Area Development Partnership Fund, or dues. It's a company out of St. Paul, Minneapolis, and he's just kind of a business headhunter. He finds companies that are looking at expanding in the Midwest, and he just gets us in front of them so we can go there, hear the pitches from those companies, and see if it's somebody we want to go after. They're typically looking for buildings and money, and we think if it's a good fit for our community, we'll try to connect them with some other
So
local
that was
people.
they had a meeting in Minneapolis this last week.
Yep, Friday.
Is that part of that?
Yep.
Group? Okay.
Yep, they have 3 a year, and actually just this morning I received their update, like the full presentations and pitches that all those companies gave. So we sift through those, and if we think it's a meeting we need to be at, because there's several companies there that we'd want to make a play for. I mean, you're competing against every other community that's also a member, and there's probably 100 of them.
Any other comments of Walker? Walker, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the city administrator's monthly report. Tobias?
Just a couple highlights to hit for you. The Hannibal Park batting facility, if you've been out there, you notice the dirt work's been done. We're working with the architect on getting the last plans and specs put together. Those should come back to city council, I'm guessing, in the next council meeting, so we can send those out and get bids on that project. We're looking again, probably a late summer construction being completed for that project. You'll note that we've started the transition from MPPD to AEP. We've had some initial telephone conversations about how that transition will work. Everything has gone very well. It helps that you're not the first community going through it. What we do have that we've got to kind of work through is the BSDC. They're technically, they get their own power from WAPA. They wheel it through our system, and so we just got to kind of walk through that one. It's the only thing that's different that South Sioux City didn't have, and other communities have not had so far, is just how to handle that issue. And so we're meeting and walking and talking about that one, just how to handle that moving forward. I would note that junk motor vehicles, we've talked about it a number of times. I believe Abby and I have polished an ordinance as much as humanly possible. So we're ready to bring it out and let you guys review it and let us know what you see, what you have questions on, what you like, what you don't like. We're looking to bring that to you at the next work session next week, so you can start to have those conversations. I don't know if Abby and I can read it anymore, though. And so we need to take a break. I'll let somebody else have it for a little while and then bring it back and see where you guys think we need to go with it. I'll note next week, April 28th and 29th, you have a large softball tournament here in town. We're going to have about 70 teams in town. They'll be playing both at Hannibal and at Scott Street ball fields throughout the weekend. So they had a tournament earlier this month, had about 30 teams in it, but this will be a larger one, about 70. And so ball season's underway, hoping the weather holds off so we can actually open bathrooms and do a few of those things so we don't have to worry about them freezing. The last thing I want to note in there that's a little different, we haven't had to do in the past, is part of the floodplain management that the city has to take care of via federal law is we need to go out into the 2-mile zoning jurisdiction and notify people when they've done something that requires a floodplain permit. You'll see in James Burrows' report, he had 2 of those this last month that he had to go out and send letters to people letting them know that the work they did required a permit. Most of the time it's, a farmer out clearing a ditch or doing something along those lines. But because of navigable waters of the U.S., they do require some permits. And so we're trying to work with those, have some educational opportunities, make sure people understand what permits they need to get so we can get ahead of it and we can help them out rather than having them get in any trouble later on from the Corps of Engineers or anything like that. So that's a little different. You might hear something out there on the street about people getting letters that they have not received in the past, but that's what we're doing there. So any other questions or concerns you guys have?
Legislatively, session ends Wednesday, as I understand.
That's right. Legislative, not a whole lot on the city's plate really moved one way or the other. Our bill on plumbing boards did not get out of committee. For some reason, plumbing boards was highly controversial. Who would have thought that? What it came down to was state law today says you charge $1 for permit. There were some state senators that thought that turning that over to letting the city council make that decision of how much that should be would be a fee increase, and they would not vote for a fee increase, and so they just refused to vote. And so it stalled in committee and didn't go anywhere.
Deep thinkers.
We'll try again next year. Bring it back out. We'll keep trying to educate them and see if we can't move that thing forward. What we did learn was what Omaha does is they charge $1 for the state permit and then $49 for the city permit. And Omaha said, when we're done, we're just going to charge $50. And I'm not sure how they are able to do that, but they do, and that's fine. We just charge $1. But they saw that as this fee increase, so they wouldn't vote for it. The other one that passed is probably the most important for the city is a legislative bill on TIF. A lot of the stuff they talked about kind of got rolled into one bill. But essentially, the only thing that came out and did was, if we're going to declare an area as blight and substandard, we're now required to have a public hearing at planning and zoning and at city council. And then before you pass a redevelopment plan, which is what we bring to you when, Heido did their TIF project and some of those, as those are individual plans, we're now required to have a public hearing at city council and at planning and zoning. So you already have 5 meetings on those. Nobody attends 5 meetings, but now we have a public hearing again at planning and zoning and one at city council to make sure the public has an opportunity to be there and say anything they'd like to say as we bring those projects forward. Those are probably the biggest changes with regards to TIF. There's also now a requirement that I believe by May 1st of every year, the CRA has to submit a report to the school and the county and the NRD and everybody else, letting them know of what projects they've passed, where they're at in the process. Somewhat peculiar because once a project is passed, there's nothing you can do to undo it. It's already done, but more or less just to notify those organizations that in fact those TIF projects are out there. Do keep in mind that throughout the TIF project, we have to send notice to those organizations before we pass it to let them have an opportunity to know to show up at these various meetings and voice their opinion. Now we'll send them another notice afterwards letting them know that it's what's done and here's where we're at in the project. So
it's going to lengthen the already lengthy process.
it will lengthen it. We had been able to get TIF down to about 30 to 45 days. You've now added probably another 2 weeks to it in order to give notice of the public meeting, because it requires 10 days publication, and you have to have so many days after the publication before you can have the meeting, and so it did just lengthen the process.
Okay. Any questions of Tobias? All right, Tobias, thank you very much. The next regular city council meeting is going to be on May 7th at 8 o'clock in these chambers, and there will be a work session a week from today at 7 o'clock right here in the boardroom. Mr. Catlin, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I would move that the meeting be adjourned at 7:36 PM.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Billsbach. The meeting be adjourned at 7:36 PM. Your vote, please, and that is approved 8-0. Thank you, everyone, for coming.